Oh,
Uh-oh. All right. Lock in.
all right, everyone, walk in. Okay. All right, everyone. Welcome to episode number 14 of the Red Plates podcast. Recently, we've been having many national champions on as the national championships just ended. This time, we have Simone on, and she is an eight-time national champion. She has won uh, three lift raw, three lift equipped, as well as bench only national championships. She has won both the 47 and the 52 kilogram national title. And she won her first nationals in 2017. Simone, that is a crazy resume.
Yes, thank you. I
Hearing
will,
it
okay,
back,
I also, just to be like clear though, the 52 title I think that you're looking at is not the raw title. So I
okay,
do want to make that differentiation.
okay.
Yeah.
Now
And
that's
like,
okay.
yeah, just to, respect to everyone out there.
No, we appreciate it because I was reading your open powerlifting. Like I already knew that you'd won a lot of things, but I think you have 27 meets or something around there.
Thanks for
And
aging me.
no, that's a good thing. Yeah, you're experienced. But 27 meets, and I think the worst that you placed was third in every meet that
Fifth.
you've ever fifth.
I did fifth last year at national.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's
That was my year of, reframing things, but other
that was
than
the
that, yes.
comeback.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the comeback. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
Uh, on top of that, too, you've also placed internationally at Worlds three separate times,
Yes.
and you have won four other international competitions.
I believe so.
Insane. Because we've had like a few people on, like Walter and Eric Willis, who have these really crazy resumes, but this one actually might like top that because you have multiple placings at the World Championship.
Yeah. And I also got the individual lift medals as well for most
Oh,
of those. Yeah.
dang. So which lifts was it?
My first year, I think, was the squat, the third highest squat.
Hmm.
Second time I went to Worlds was I think for all of them, maybe not bench. And then for the 20, was it 2021 that I went?
I
20,
believe so.
the
2022?
one in South Africa a few years ago, that I think I individually got all of them as well. Yeah,
That's
I did,
insane.
because I got bronze across the board. That's, yeah,
Wow. So you just went home with like a billion medals.
yes. And they were all the same color.
That's amazing. That's awesome. And I was gonna say, like all of those accolades, you started in 2015. If 2015 Simone could see you now, what do you think she would think?
She would be really surprised. I remember when I first started lifting and like my first couple competitions in my head, I was like, it would be so cool to do two plates. And like that's like 102.5, like
Hmm.
225 at the gym. So
Yeah.
that was like my goal. Two plates would be so cool. Like that's cool. And I hate this, but cool for a girl, like heavy for a girl.
Yeah.
And like now that's like my second warm up. Like, so I think it was like when I look back, and if my old self could look at me now, I think she'd be pretty impressed with myself.
For sure. No, the progress you've made has been insane. I think I mean a formula is a good way to see the difference, but also just in total, your gains have been massive. I think you Wilksed, which was the big formula back then, like a mid 300 or low 300, and now you have above 500 Wilks, which is very hard to achieve. And especially because you've been around when Wilks was like the more like same with
Yeah.
us when Wilks was the thing. So 500 Wilks was the goal. Like if you could do that, you were like super elite. And what when did you hit that mark?
I think it was maybe a year or two before they took the Wilkes out.
Oh
So I
damn,
think I like
okay.
finally hit it, and then maybe it was a couple years and then they took it out, and I was like, I can't tell, like, how do I compare myself to other, like, how can I rank myself other than like the just the total based off the total, or based off of like looking at what other people were doing locally and internationally.
Hmm. Yeah, it is crazy because that Wilkes was just the thing, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm finally up there, like I made it or whatever, and then it's
Yeah.
just taken away. And even now, like for myself, like it's hard to even understand with all of the different formulas. Um, but yeah, no, it is very cool that you hit that when it was a big popular thing, because in Canada around that time, not many people had that
That was a big
accolade.
deal. I
Yeah.
remember when the year that Maria Hitti hit that 500 Wilks, that was one of my first nationals. It might have been my first or my second, and that was like a big deal. Like everyone was like, "Whoa!" Like insane. So
Mhm.
and like now, like the strength in the sport, the depth in Canada is so impressive that like maybe nobody would really blink at that, but at that time, like the announcer was going wild and people were freaking out. So I thought it was like, yeah, like when I finally hit it, I was like, oh my God, I made it. And then they took it away.
And now it's like, is it it's currently dots
We
or
use
no, what
GL
is
points, but I was just gonna say,
GL?
like for dots, like you hit 500 dots at this national, so that's pretty cool.
Did I actually?
Mm,
Yeah, I feel
that's
like
very
Okay.
dots and
cool.
Wilks are sort of similar, but they favor certain weight classes a bit differently. But yeah, this
Yeah.
this past nationals for raw, you hit 501 dots. That's
There
sick.
you go.
Squeaked in there.
Yeah,
Oh,
you've achieved them all. Now you just need 500 GL.
I just need a 500 total. That's what I want.
500 total.
that would be
Badass.
good.
Imagine at like 47.52.
That
That's
would be
That'd be
sick.
that'd be insane. And yeah, and the whole time in your career, you were around those two weight classes. Your first time, you were a 47, I believe,
yeah.
and maybe even like under.
For
Was
what?
it for your weight class, like for your first meet?
I've always been a 40. I mean, I'm looking at my IPF over here, like my open IPF. Yeah, mostly 47. And then in 2023, I think that's when I started going into like not trying to cut and just ate like a idiot. Um, didn't fully fill out the 52s, so I'm back in the 47s right now.
What is
Yeah,
47 in pounds? Is it like 105 or like
103.
103? Okay. Because I was talking about this with Omar. He came in the gym the other day. We were talking about how Walter won the championship, and then we were talking about how you won the championship. And I was trying to describe to him, I was like, yeah, Simone's like basically like 100 pounds and she squats almost 3 plates. Like,
I
yeah.
it's pretty
squat
crazy.
3 plates.
Yeah.
Almost 3 plates.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wild.
What was it that you the record that you just took?
Squat.
Squat and it was 141? Yeah, that's badass. At that
It
weight
was
class, that's insane.
140 and then got chipped to 140.5 and then I chipped it back to 141.
Let's go. You're like, I'm not losing this record. This is mine. But yeah, the 315 is gonna go down soon.
Soon
Um,
enough. Yeah.
but yeah, you're pretty much there to the point of it. But I wanted to touch on where you started training. Did you, because you currently go to Afterburn Barbell, which is a gym in Ontario for those of you who don't know. Have you always been at Afterburn?
I started, I was at like Random Good Life, and then I was in this gym called Win Fitness. Shout out if you know what Win Fitness is, but it's like I don't even think it exists anymore. And that was like when I first started. So I was training for my first meet in that it was a commercial gym and it was like really shitty, crappy plates and like buttery bars and like just everything was all over the place. And then I trained at Band of Barbells for a few years as well, and that was before they had their separate space. So this was like
Mhm.
BOB, like one first edition. Like we were in the back of a physio clinic, and that was there was just a few of us. Like it was like 5 people, and so like it's really cool to see that BOB has grown into multiple different locations and expanded. And then I started training at Afterburn, connected with Walter as well. And that was when we both, well, for me, it was my first international meet. I think for Walter, that may have been his second. That was North Americans a few years ago. Um, yeah. And then just kind of found my people and found that group to keep pushing me. But yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know if I answered your question.
No, that's perfect. Afterburn is a great gym, and to your point, like Walter goes there. There's a lot of really good lifters who go there. And he's been on the podcast. You guys have both been in the sport for a very long time, to your point, and you're both like national champions as of this year, which is crazy because it's a long time to like come back and be at the top. Because to your point, you were talking about how fast the sport is progressing,
Yeah.
like how the 500 Wilks. I don't know how many people hit it at nationals, but there's probably a good amount of people. And so for you to be one of those first people and then currently still be at the top is insane. So, big congrats for that. Everyone listening, Simone is a beast. Um, I was gonna say too, because you went to that old Band of Barbells location. How did you even find out about like a powerlifting team?
Okay, so I guess I could rewind like way back, like to me even discovering what powerlifting was. And this sounds so I don't it sounds so weird, but I discovered it through my ex at the time was like really into the gym, and I was like, cool, I'll just like kind of go to the gym. And then I was looking up, like workouts and stuff online, like how do I make this more interesting for myself? And I discovered these people powerlifting on Instagram, and I was like, oh, okay, like that looks kind of cool. Like I could maybe try that. And it's like simple and whatever. So I started following like pretty much smaller girls because I kind of identified with that height and that weight. So it kind of helped me see myself in what they were doing. Um, so I started, getting into powerlifting training, and then started looking up because those people were competing and they were out in like California and like all over the US, but I didn't know anyone locally. And then looked up like Canadian and then Ontario, and then kind of went through the weird rabbit hole that all our websites are, and then just found a meet here. Um, and then did provincials and did that kind of run to get to nationals. So at that, my first provincials, I think it was either like Niagara or Bowmanville or something like that. And then random people, like we were all just like, oh, hey. And then we went out for dinner. And then Dan Remula actually was like, I heard you're from Scarborough. And so Scarborough is where we all kind of grew up and went to school and lived at the time. And he's like, so I'm actually opening up this team and this gym. And, we'd love to have you out if it's nearby. And so, yeah, I met Dan and May and then trained with them for a few years. And yeah, that's just like meeting people at meets. That's kind of the fun part of powerlifting too, is just meeting all these random people. And then you find out like we literally grew up in neighborhoods beside each other.
Wow. Yeah, you do meet a crazy amount of people, and it's been like, I mean, Dan and May to the point, like they have Band of Barbells, and it's expanded a lot. They've been in the sport for a very long time. Have
Yeah.
a lot of the people that you met like stayed in the sport like you have?
Um, Probably not. I see a lot of people come and go and kind of stay adjacent, um, or like kind of familiar with people, but I do recognize that competing and lifting a lot is like it can be tough on the body, and it can be tough on and the time as well that you have to apply to it. So I see a lot of people kind of come for a few years and then it's just not their thing anymore, which is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Um, and when you went to Afterburn, it was like a group of people. Was it just you, Walter, and then is there anyone that maybe me, Kyle, and Trevor would know that are still there today?
Um, Walter, and so I don't want to speak on the full history of Afterburn because I wasn't like a founding member of their team.
Mhm.
But Afterburn, the facility is like the overall gym, and then there's the Afterburn Barbell Club. So I know Walter is really good, um, has a really good relationship and is friends with the gym owner, Andrew. And Walter and his friends at that time were starting out their powerlifting clubs and teams at their respective schools. I believe it was U of T. Um, and then I think that just the proximity to where Afterburn was to campus and like the where everyone's neighborhoods were, they kind of just grew that pretty much from the ground up with their friends. I don't know if there's many like original people that are still on the team that you may know.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, like similar to all teams, people kind of move
Yeah,
on in
come and
different
go.
generations. And then I think the group that when I was starting to enter the actual team, I think that group has stuck around. So like, you know, a lot of those people like James, Josh, Chris. I'm saying only the boy names, but there's lots of girls. I'm like, oh my god, Nikki, Roselle. Oh my god, they're gonna hate me for forgetting all
So
their
how did you get
names.
involved? Like, did you so you met Walter at like that NAPF, and that's how you kind of got involved with that group?
We met, no, we met, I think, through Band of Barbells because Walter would, you know, he's like a social butterfly. He's friends with everyone. So I think he came to train at BOB, and I actually don't know how, but we just, you know, we're just became pals. And then he's like, hey, you want to come like train at Afterburn with our people, whatever. And then yeah, we just started training together a little more often. And then we both came out of that nationals to go into that NAPF. And then we kind of coordinated going together. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's yeah.
Cool.
You know,
The
I was
origin
rambling on.
stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think we talked about that much when Walter was on. That was also episode one. But yeah, it is cool. And at some point, we should probably have you and Walter on simultaneously. I feel like that would be really cool.
It would be
Maybe
very chaotic, but I think it'd be a lot of fun because Walter and I go, we have a lot of story.
it would be cool to hear. But yeah, like you were saying, a lot of people do get into it and then they kind of fizzle out. For example, a big one was COVID in 2020. So I went to Band of Barbells at the time, and I think you were well into like the Afterburn Club at that time, so never seen you there really, but we had like a group of people that would always be training like the same time after work. Like it was
Yeah.
very fun. And that was at the second location. So not the physio med one or but it was the other location. And yeah, it was like a group of people. We were all pushing our training, trying to become the best that we could be, qualify for these meets, and then go to nationals. And then eventually, obviously, COVID happened. And from there, it really took out a lot of people, especially here in
Yeah.
Canada. There wasn't like options to train. So during that, what was your training like, if there was any training? And did you feel like, okay, maybe it's time to move on to something else?
Yeah, COVID kind of that was like, oh my God, that I think that it definitely took a lot of people out of it. And I well, I was fortunate enough that previously to that, I had invested in a basement setup at my parents' place. But by time COVID came around, I had already like I'm already living on my own. So it was there were times where like it was not ideal for me to be going into my parents' home because I like, just with all the restrictions. Sorry, there's like cat fur in my eye, so I'm just a little distracted. Um, Jesus. I'm gonna start that over again if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Sure.
no, that's fine.
Okay, so yes, previously, like many years ago, I had invested in a home setup. So I have some just like some pound plates and a mini like a little combo rack and a bar. That's in my parents' basement. So sometimes like if you see me lifting in like a dungeon looking setting, that's because I'm hanging out at my parents' place and I'm just getting some training in. So that was there during COVID, and I don't live with them. So that was a bit of a challenge trying to figure out when it was a safe time to actually be able to return again to even spend time with my family. And just like, you know, respecting the health situation of some of my family members.
Mhm.
Um, and then I did have a group of friends that I was able to train with. I don't want to out anyone. I'm sure if anyone has been following me or knows who I was hanging out with at the time, like you saw that we were able to train in our training setting, like in a living room. And then also, what was also helpful was And I really appreciated that Andrew, the owner of Band of Barbells, he actually lent out his equipment. So he just kind of had a spreadsheet and you rented it out and you paid like a minimal membership fee essentially. And that was, I don't know, that I really appreciated that because then, we had bumper plates that we could use so it wasn't like making a ton of noise, benches, and even the adjustable benches as well. So I think that was something that kept me at least trying, and like moving a little bit with a barbell. I'm not, yeah, I didn't really have a program for maybe half a year, maybe a year. I just kind of like did a basic like 5x5 here and there. But I didn't have anything really to work toward. And I think that year actually there was a worlds that I had qualified for because we had 2020 nationals. So I was going to do that 2020 worlds. Then all that kind of came out, then they canceled it. So there was a lot of like, didn't know what you were training for anymore. So there was a lot of confusion. But yeah, I think slowly just kind of as things started opening up again, then you got a little more excited. You kind of got into the gym a little bit. Then where we were, they closed everything down a few times and we had to like return the plates and then we borrowed the plates again, then return the plates and then borrowed them again. And it was one of the more challenging times I've experienced in terms of staying like interested in lifting. Um, but yeah, I think it was just at that time, I had to frame it as just doing what I could do in that time. We'll see. We'll just see when meets will happen again and if they'll happen again and if I'll get to go to Worlds or not. Yeah.
Yeah, so you just stayed motivated in the hopes of like going to Worlds and then obviously continuing. What was the situation like? Worlds was canceled that year, and how did it work for the 2021 Worlds? Like, I've forgotten.
I don't remember. I think you had to reapply and you had to show whatever your qualifying total was. So that was the year I think Kyle, you went to, right?
I went to 2022, so it was a bit different. It was the year before I went, but I'm assuming like yeah, because it looks like you won 2020 nationals, and then that Worlds was canceled, and then you went to 2021. So I guess you probably just applied for it with your total from 2020
I
nationals.
think so. I think that's what it was. And
Okay.
that was a really cool worlds because that was in Sweden again, but in the Alico headquarters.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
That was
yeah.
really cool. Like that was a really interesting. It was almost like you were in a museum slash like historical space for weightlifting and powerlifting.
yeah,
And
that
they
is
had
cool.
their waffle press that I
Is
tried
the
to buy.
Do they
an
sell those, or
Alico
that's like a
waffle?
limited
They
thing?
don't sell them. So that was
Okay.
what they allegedly, if I'm remembering correctly, that was kind of one of their big first products. And so I think if you look at the knurling on the Alico bars, apparently it's like the mini version of what
Waffle?
the waffle was. I could be making this up, so don't quote me. But I'm pretty sure like that's kind of how it, moved along. Um, yeah.
That would be a super cool little Easter egg. But I don't know. So I thought that was like one of their April Fools kind of things, but they actually made waffle makers.
That
Like
was
that was
their thing. Like
what?
that, so the April Fools was that they were gonna bring it back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's so
But I think
random. How did
also if
they
you
go
go
from that to
thrifting, pardon?
I said that's so random how they went from waffle makers to making gym equipment.
I know.
They were probably into the very high end appliances, and then they were like, "All
Yeah.
right, let's just make the most expensive barbells possible."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't they
But
have like a
they,
mug too that you could buy, but it was like a couple
Mhm.
$100s?
The
It was
heavy
really
mug. Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that that was the April Fools, or did they actually sell
No,
some?
that's real. I think that's
Well,
real.
it started as an April Fool's joke, but then the demand was so high, like people were
Yeah.
like, "We want these," so they made like a very limited run, and they sold out like that. It was
I think
crazy.
it
I
was
did
10
get this
kilos.
though. I don't know if the blurriness will show, but I finished on the podium and that was like their podium giveaway. It was this
Oh,
like
that's cool.
yeah, it's not insulated and it's like made in
Just say it's made in Sweden.
it's made in Sweden. Designed in Sweden.
Yeah. That's sweet.
And
Yeah, that's cool.
so that was the 2021 Worlds. And what did you place at this Worlds?
Second.
Okay, that was the time that you also got a lot of individual medals as well.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. Was that
That was
your
one of my best meets. I remember leaving that meet feeling like really happy with what I lifted. Even though I think I missed a bench and a deadlift, but I was still really happy at the end of it.
You put up a really good total at me. So that was like 372. I think that was your best total for a while.
I think that might have been my best total until this
Till
last
now, right?
nationals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
man?
Yeah, like after oh no, I did make a deadlift. I missed my bench. I always miss my third deadlifts.
Yeah, it happens. I was
So
gonna say
eighth
because I
medal.
remember from the worlds that I was at, so I was 2022 South Africa. I think you competed a couple days before me, so I think I was coming in for like my last training session while you were competing, and I didn't realize, and I went to say like, "How's it going?" And you were like, "Don't talk to me."
I was
Like,
probably, I
you're
think I was
like,
crying,
yeah,
to be honest.
yeah.
I think I made a lot of people uncomfortable at that moment. Yeah, I remember. And you were like, okay. Yeah, that was I that world's I think I will can comfortably say this right now. I had COVID going into that world's. So
Oh, shit.
I was like beaten to crap flying out. I didn't know if I was gonna make it. I was like testing, like, well, I was still testing positive for like 3 weeks and I couldn't breathe. My last few training like weeks were terrible. I don't even know how I made it into the country. Like I really hope nobody important is listening to this right now, but that was
Honestly, I think a lot of people had that though too, so you shouldn't feel bad. Like I'm pretty sure Penna like came out like from France, came out and said he competed with COVID that year.
yeah. I think
So
Leah that year too, I don't think she made weight and she was suffering
yeah,
from COVID symptoms too. So that was a really rough year. And that meet, like, I don't know what happened. Like, I had such a terrible meet. I think that was the worst I've ever done in terms of the attempts that I made. Like, I think I made one squat, one bench, and maybe two
it
deadlifts.
seems like you guys like were going really heavy on squats because your best squat up until that point was like 140, and you opened at 140. So obviously, I had good training.
I was training at 145. I was doing reps at 145. Like that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they were high because that's what
Okay.
you know, there I was box squatting 140 as Garrett likes to remind me. So
Okay.
I will, you know what? I was moving 140, but I was sorry, over 140, like definitely 145 in training, but not to competition standards. So I will accept that, and that is why I did not make those attempts.
Well, you went 3 for 3 on deadlift, so that's some consolation. You made your third dead.
Anytime I make a third deadlift, I'm like, did it.
So overall, how did you feel about that Worlds then?
I missed my bench opener. Like, that's when Kyle came to the back room. And I was like,
Damn,
oh,
horrible
Like not right
timing,
now.
Kyle.
Like I need to make a
like
bench.
I missed, so I got my squat opener, missed everything else. Then I missed a bench opener. So obviously I'm like, what the hell's going on? Like missing 3 attempts in a row is not good. And I've never like I really don't recall ever doing that poorly, performing that poorly in terms of attempts at a meet. So missing that opener, obviously, like you always want to hit your opener because that's what keeps you in. So I have this panic attack. I have to like ground myself. I think Garrett was really like, oh my God, like what is going on? Like I've never had that kind of reaction in a meet that he's been at. I think
What
maybe
did you
my
miss the
earlier
bench
meets I used to
opener on?
cry, but I missed it 75.
But like, what was it wasn't on strength or
It was
something?
it was a misgroove. I think I was just like
Okay.
that was bad.
Okay.
Yeah, I am I think just with all, like the mental fog that you have with COVID and the travel, I will say that was probably the most challenging. And I definitely recognize I'm not the only person that had to travel a dumb amount of time. Like we all did. And I can't even imagine what it would have been like to be like coming from Australia to get there. But like what did we have? Like we had 2 long flights from Toronto, and then that long sketchy bus ride slash van, and we got there in the middle of the night, so there was like it was pretty dark, and our driver went the wrong direction the first time when we left the airport, so we drove for maybe like 45 minutes the wrong way, so that added more time.
Oh my gosh.
I
Yeah, that was
didn't
rough.
suffer enough time to get there to like let my weight kind of settle as well. Yeah, so that was not the most ideal situation going into that meet.
Did you have to cut like water load and stuff for that meet as well?
I did a light, like a small water load, and then because I wasn't walking too heavy at that point, I don't remember exactly what I was at, but I was like, I just need a little extra water for a few days. And I landed, and because we got there so late, and I think I didn't like calculate things properly, I was like, oh my God, I'm over. I spat almost I won't say a liter, but maybe like 500 milliliters.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was just like, it was, and I've never had to spit for a meet. So I think that was not an ideal situation.
Yeah, it's like it's stressful. I remember I was water loading for that meet too. And like you said, like we had crazy long travel. Like it was like one flight that was 11 hours, the next flight was 12 hours, whatever. So I was literally water loading on the plane. So like I'm
Yeah.
here drinking like 10 liters of water and like using the washroom like every 30 minutes on this like
Yeah.
10-hour flight. It was brutal.
On top of the bloat that happens when you go up and then down, and then
Yeah.
you're up in the air again, and then you're down, and then you're sitting for an hour or two in a van as well. So it was definitely a lot of learnings came out of that. I like
Yeah.
I had a call with my coach after. I'm like, so here's everything I learned, and I listed all the things that I could have done better.
Do you bring your own food like when you travel like that? Like that was a huge learning experience for me. Is like I should have brought food like for the flight and stuff like that because like obviously everything they're bringing you is like super high sodium, like Panzerotti thing, whatever, like airport airplane food. So like that's what one like. Did you bring your own stuff?
I don't remember for that meet. Oh yeah, I tried to. They took my, I think I packed too much peanut butter. So I had a
Oh,
big
okay.
container, and then because like when you
They took
your
it.
carry-on, it still has to be a certain amount.
Yeah.
And I think when I looked this up, FYI, for anyone else that wants to bring peanut butter or anything like that, the reason why they don't allow it is because the x-rays can't scan through the thickness of the peanut butter. So
Oh,
don't bring
yeah.
peanut butter.
You're gonna hide stuff in peanut butter.
Yeah, I was not trying to smuggle anything in the peanut butter, and I was like so distraught when they took it away. Because I was like, what am I gonna eat? Like that's the only thing I have.
Yeah.
So for all my like usually and like other meets, if I have to travel, I do bring I plan out my meals, and I plan out what I need to bring. Especially if I'm only there for maybe 2 days or a day before, it's easy enough to pack your own food. I have like a little travel like thermos slash kettle, which it's like the size of this, and then you just like plug it in. So I don't think I'll need that for any upcoming meets, but in case anyone else is going to travel, like that's a good one. You can make some oatmeal or cream of wheat or whatever. I do remember one meet I brought like my egg whites, like I cooked them and I put them in a container, and
Oh,
it was like they took it out. I'm like, what the hell is
that would be like
And, like-
stinky too. If you open that on the plane, everyone's gonna be like, "What the hell?"
Yeah.
And security
Eggs.
too. They're like, what is this blob of white stuff?
Yeah. Well, we brought beef. Remember, Trevor? We packed like a bunch of beef in the thing, and they were like,
Was
"Why
it
do you have
cooked?
this?"
Yeah.
I
Well, they
can't.
didn't even
It
really
was
look
cooked.
at it, to be honest. That's what I was gonna say. I was surprised they didn't like the peanut butter because we smuggled like 2 kilos of beef with ice packs, and they didn't say anything.
Yeah.
I think they looked at it, but they just looked at it, opened it, looked at me, and just gave it to me.
They
Yeah, I guess it's just like certain foods. Like so peanut butter, now we know it's because you can smuggle stuff with it, I guess.
Which is good to know,
It's like,
maybe.
like fruits and stuff you can't bring.
I have the little like those little the little ones, like the travel ones now. Like you get them at I think McDonald's and like Starbucks. They give it to you when you get a bagel.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
the
okay.
little like craft
The little,
square
yeah,
things.
so
I was
I
just
have like
thinking that, yeah.
a few of those just to make me like get me through a couple days.
Yeah, those are good.
Yeah.
It's mainly for international stuff. Like when we're traveling in Canada, it's not bad because like
Yeah.
you have like a 6 hour flight and then you get there and you can kind of get food or go to a grocery store. But if I ever had to travel like 24 hours again, or even when you go to Germany or when's the next one is Iceland that you're doing would be the closest one or
Iceland, 2 weeks.
so
Oh,
what's the
that's
Um,
cool.
flight for that? Like how far is that? That'll probably be you have to bring food.
like a 5 hour flight.
Okay, it's not that bad.
Um, yeah, and it's an overnight flight, so I'll sleep. Isaac will be up because he can't sleep on planes. So he can eat my meals. But and like yeah, you're like you Kyle, you were saying like meals on the planes, like they're full of sodium, like there's so much processed stuff that if you're cutting, highly do not recommend eating that. Even if you can request, you can for some airlines request low sodium or like certain kinds of dietary requests, it's still going to be high in sodium.
Yeah.
But yeah, Iceland in a couple weeks. Um, I know the food there is pretty expensive, I think, just given their like where they are in the world to, I guess, import and farm. Like, I don't think they have a lot of that. So I know food is really expensive. So I'm there for a couple days before my actual competition day. So I'm gonna bring some stuff like the easy stuff that is like I know I will need. Um, and my own protein powder and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luke just went to Iceland, right? Like a couple weeks ago, and he said all the food was pretty pricey, right?
Yeah, if you eat out, it's really, really
Yeah.
expensive. Um, but they do have a Costco, like right by the airport. I assume
Oh,
you guys
man.
are renting a car.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when I landed, I just went straight to Costco, and then they have lots of stuff. So it's a really big, really obviously all Costco's are huge, but yeah, they have lots of stuff. And it's not like I know some countries when you go, it's like completely different stuff. Um, it seemed to be pretty similar. I just grabbed a few things though, because I was staying in like well, I was driving lots and couldn't keep it all
Yeah.
cold, but I did eat out. But yeah, you obviously won't be doing that beforehand. No, you got to
I'll
make
just be
sure.
watching Isaac eat.
Did your
Mhm.
membership from here work in Iceland?
It works everywhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I'm so
yeah.
excited. Thanks for telling me, Luke. I think
I did not.
that'll be like an activity to burn some time.
Hmm.
Like
Oh,
I
they
love
have
Costco.
yeah, and they have like all the food, but they have like different options too. Like you know how like Costco has like their hot dogs, they have hot dogs. Iceland's very popular for hot dogs for some reason.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they have
Is it
their
like the
Costco.
long skinny ones?
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's most of the time it's just lamb. But yeah, it was really good. Like for their hot dogs for I don't know the hot dog like standards, but it was good. And are you gonna? That was another question that we have for you. Like you've traveled lots of times for worlds. You went to Sweden, which you said was really cool. South Africa, I'm sure was cool. Did you stay a little bit after for those? Will you be doing that for Iceland? And like, which has been your favorite place so far?
Um, like any of, I don't know. They've all been really cool and different places. Um, where have we gone? Where have I gone? I like Sweden a lot, but I like the Scandinavian countries. Just
Hmm.
like I did a semester there before, so I just kind of liked it. Like
Oh,
it just
cool.
brought me back to being in school and like being over there. And I kind of understand some of the language and the culture there already from before. So that was kind of why I felt like comfortable going. For Iceland, yes, we'll be staying for a few extra days. Can't wait to go sit in some hot springs and do some hiking and like relax after all this like run of competitions I've had this year. Um, my favorite place. Is it cheesy? Can I say like I actually really like that like nationals because it's been in so many different places in Canada that I wouldn't naturally think to go travel to. Like no shade on any of the other places in Canada, but like it's not always at the top of my mind to travel there. Like PEI was beautiful. Like Vancouver obviously was really cool. And one of the other ones, I was just looking back to like see where I've gone. And
Winnipeg.
Winnipeg was cool. I mean, I would have, like, honestly, I'm sorry, Winnipeg, but I would have never gone. And Saguenay, I thought Saguenay was really cool. I know there's been a couple other meets there since, but that was, I think, the first time in a while that it was there. And that was a really cool nationals. And it was in the winter, which was challenging to get to because there was a lot of like snowstorms, but it was really beautiful to see getting out there.
What year was that one? Because I don't think we had started at that point.
16?
2017
I think that was 2017.
in March.
Oh yeah. So I heard like I guess everyone from here probably would have driven. But I don't think you
mostly,
could. Yeah, like, and I don't even know where, like, if they have a good airport nearby that you can even fly to. But I
It's like
did
a small
hear,
airport.
and I heard like what you were saying. A lot of people were dealing with the snowstorms, carpooling, and like just all like,
Highways were closed, so I think some people barely made it in.
wow, yeah. And you're just like in the car for already a long period of time if you're driving from here, but even longer because of the snowstorm, just like crammed up with a bunch of power lifters. Probably not ideal for competing, but it's good to hear that
It
it was
was
lots of
so
fun.
beautiful. Like I think back and like looking at like going through when it wasn't snowing, but the snow had fallen, and you see like all the cliffs and the trees covered. Like it felt like a Christmas fairy tale, and it was just so magical.
That's awesome.
Like little, the sprinkle of snow. I really like looking at snow. That's yeah, it was pretty.
Was
Yeah.
the next year was in Calgary, right? 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys did you go see like Banff and stuff or?
That year I did, I think.
That's one thing I've always wanted to do is see like
Briefly.
Banff in Alberta. Like it looks unreal.
And in the winter too, because I think so many people go in the summer, but seeing it when I like winter and I like snow, so I like seeing the different places in
I think it
Canada.
depends on the place though. Like I think going to PEI in the summer was really nice. Like I don't know how PEI is in the winter, you know, but like certain places like look really nice, like with the snow. Like Banff, I think would be really cool.
I think also it would be challenging to travel to the East Coast in the winter because of like the potential ice storms or just general storms. Yeah, because some of even this past nationals, because of the hurricane season, that I guess it comes up from Florida and goes up. So a few people I know from Newfoundland had to, I think they were saying they actually had to fly into inland, so like Toronto, then to go back out. They can't go down or like around because of all the
Wow.
I think that's what Lucas did. I think
I was
Lucas
just gonna
flew
say,
like
yeah.
into Toronto and then yeah.
Dang,
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because didn't Christina see him at the airport or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something happened with their flights too. Like a bunch of them got delayed or canceled and he had to reschedule his flight.
Yeah.
Which is funny because like he's one of like the closer people to PEI. Like
I
like,
know.
he was
You'd
right
think
there.
that it would be like, oh, no big deal, like just a 2-hour flight or an hour flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it would be like if we flew to like Ottawa or something. Like it's super close.
Well, it's close, but if you look at a map, it's actually still really friggin' far. Like to St.
Yeah.
John's. I remember
How many hours is that flight?
To Newfoundland?
From like Newfoundland PEI.
Oh, it's probably still an hour and a half.
Well, do they have direct flights? Because I think that's why a lot of them they couldn't. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is far. I remember because Paige went to school in Halifax, and it was like the same distance from Halifax to here to Halifax to St. John's.
Yeah, it's very
because St.
deceiving.
John's is up here on the map, and then PEI is like down here, and like Halifax, I guess, is like in here.
Were they maybe flying to Halifax and then getting a flight, but it got screwed up or something? I can't remember what Lucas
this
said.
year.
Yeah,
I think that's probably what happened.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
kind of
like
weird.
I have nothing to base this off of except for that brief story that I was told.
Yeah.
We may be
Yeah, it's
spreading
funny though too, because I think
misinformation.
that's why they were trying to change the timing of nationals, right? Because like what you were saying with the ice storms out east, like people didn't want to fly. in the winter, but then we still had issues traveling like during September.
It
Some
doesn't
people did.
matter. It's Canada. No matter what season, there's going to be some challenging weather. Like
Yeah.
winter going out to like Winnipeg or Calgary, there's going to be problems. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
I was gonna say too, like to your point that you made about you've traveled all over Canada because of powerlifting. I think that that's something that's really cool. Like once people make it to the national level, because
Yeah.
for us, I think that the three of us, we've done Winnipeg, we've done wow, I'm brain farting, but the Ottawa one, and then out west, Richmond was really cool because I'd
Mhm.
never even been out west at all. I know Kyle had before, but yeah, like lots of places. We went to Newfoundland. Actually, had you guys gone to Newfoundland twice? I've been there twice because of Easterns and stuff, but and one
Yeah.
nationals.
Yeah, I went to the Commonwealth there before.
Mm.
I did a
Yes.
Commonwealth out there too.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
2019, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one, okay, when was that? That was September?
Yeah,
I
I
still
think so, yeah.
there was trouble with my flight going out there too. And I was crazy for that one. I flew in the Thursday night, competed Friday morning, and flew out Friday night. I don't
wow.
know why I decided to do that, but I was like, I'm just gonna come in for the day and then leave.
That's great. And you won probably too, right?
Yes.
God damn. It's just easy mode for you. That's why. You weren't stressed at all.
That's the one where I brought my own eggs because I was like, I don't have time to go to a store. Like, I'm just gonna bring my own egg
Maybe that's
whites.
the secret. You were locked in for that one.
I
I
think
know
so. I was just like, just go.
Commonwealth too, you get individual lift medals, right? So you probably went there and just absolutely cleaned up, like took the gold overall, gold squat, bench, and deadlift, and then flew out.
I think so. I keep my medals in a shoebox at my parents' house. So every time it's like a tradition that I have after every competition, I go home, hang out with my parents, and like, look at I brought this home and I put it in a shoebox, and then they keep it beside them on the TV stand.
Aw, that's awesome. That's so cool. You probably have, oh my God, you probably have a crazy amount of medals.
Yeah, I have some where I don't know what they're for though. Like I some of them just I think the meet directors, like more of the like provincials, weren't labeled. So I don't
Mm.
like I have to look at my IPF, open IPF or whatever to remember what I did and what category I was in, especially the past couple of years now that I've been doing like raw and equipped and bench only and three lift. Because I it's hard for me to remember because it's been so many meets now.
That's amazing. I wish I had that many medals. Just don't even know what they're from. Just like, damn, look at me. Just baller.
It is cool
What
when
Um,
it
got
has
you
it
into
labeled
it?
like your weight class and like what the meet was and stuff like that, or like the placing.
Pardon?
Because some of them, yeah, you just look at it and you can't even tell like really what it is.
Yeah, like I think also because for OPA, we try to keep it the same medal for every championship to keep it consistent. So you're always like the gold always looks the same, the whatever. But I just don't remember which one was from which event.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So what got you into Equipped, Simone? Because I think that was kind of the next thing after the 2022 Worlds.
2020. Okay. Um, in the lockdown, I was bored and was trying to, that's when a lot of people try new things, and whether it be running or something else. But we can get to that later. So I think in my head I was kind of like, I've done so many different meets and I've been to a lot of different competitions like the Commonwealth, North Americans. I at that point I had done worlds and I I remember just having this conversation. I think it was with Christine and I was like, how do you even get to world games? Like what is that even? Like how do they select these people? Because I had no idea just like how did they even pick these people? Because there were like also people were some of the names I knew, but a lot of them I had no idea who these lifters were. So started digging into that and then trying to understand um, the I guess the qualifying cycle and then thinking in my head, okay, well, I have however many years to get good at this to even try to qualify for World Games. So I think at that point I was like, okay, like it's time to try something new. I need something to kind of like be like reignite my excitement for lifting after I mean like it was only like maybe 5 years at that point, 6 years, but still like you want to try something different once in a while. And yeah, just kind of started asking my coach and asking different people and trying it out. And yeah, just kind of after a while, like after I think squatting with just wraps and like squatting over my PRs within a couple of weeks, I was like, this is kind of what I needed, like a little bit of an ego boost. So yeah, that's kind of how I started getting into it. And then more and more like I feel like I'm still in that learning curve of like, okay, like this is how to use the equipment to get that extra strength. Yeah.
So when you started, was Garrett your coach back when you did your first equip meet?
No.
No? Okay. So I was wondering if Garrett had like peer pressured you into the suit.
He may have just like in passing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't remember how much we talked. I mean, like he definitely, because I did have conversations with him about equipped and just my curiosity of like understanding a little bit more. And he's like he loves raw lifting, but he loves equipped lifting. And when we like have our in-person sessions, like he's like nerding out on all the equipment. Like, I mean, he's that bench shirt expert, and I like it's just I sit there and like just soaking it in and like just trying to learn as much as you can. And I think that's also why I like equip too. It's like it's that refreshing, like being that rookie, being that newbie and trying to understand it so much more.
Yeah, it is definitely a whole different world. Like I remember I was just at the Band of Barbells meet like on the weekend, and Garrett was there handling his lifter that was doing like equip bench. And you're just like watching them warm up, and it's just like such a different thing. Like he's hitting his like last warm up, and it's like not even like touching his chest. And I'm just like, how is this gonna work? But you guys know. Yeah.
Well, I think Garrett talks about like all prep. He's happy if he can just touch like once or twice is good enough.
Yeah.
I know.
Different ballpark.
Crazy. And he has a different technique and style than other bench and equipped coaches as well. But it works. It works for him, and so far it's been working for me. But I'm still, I want to get like 2 reds on. Like that'd be sick.
That would be sick.
We'll get there one day.
How much do you find you get out of the equipment, like on say like squat and bench?
Squat, I get a lot. I mean, what did I hit 175 and in the equipment, and then my max is 140 raw. So, and like my suit's not tight, my wraps aren't that tight. So there's a lot of potential there. Like even more potential I'm hoping. Bench, I don't know yet because I truly am still learning how to use the shirt. Like if you guys are ever around when I'm in the shirt and I'm screaming and like nearly missing my face, like it's because I just don't like it's such a huge learning curve, and it's so hard when nobody else knows and they're just like, yeah, it just needs to be tighter. I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. It doesn't need to be tight. I just don't know how to like position myself properly. So is that for deadlift, I most people I've noticed don't get that much out of the deadlift suit. For some reason, I do. I get a lot more out of it. Like, what did I get? Once I hit 172. And like, what's my raw?
Your raw deadlift's 160.
160.
Oh, that is pretty good actually, yeah, for deadlift.
And also I do sumo in the suit, but I do conventional raw. I can't raw sumo. It is not for me.
Is that like really unique, or do a lot of people do that? Like they switch to like sumo in the suit?
I don't know. I mean, I see people doing conventional in the suit, but I don't think you get as much. But that's just for me at least, I wouldn't get much from being in a suit doing conventional.
Mm.
Doing sumo, there's like it's almost like just the way you can wedge into the bar and like get your hip going, I guess. It helps. Um, I mean, there's also like Steph Keen who just hit the world record deadlift in equipped at Commonwealths a few weeks ago. She deadlifts raw and equipped sumo, and she has both massive deadlifts. So I think it just depends on the person. Um, I'm trying to think of who else like in my kind of that I know of, but I can't think off the top of my head. But
I know
yeah,
Walter and I were just talking about this because Walter went for like a crazy deadlift at the homecoming meet. He was trying to beat like the best raw deadlift of all time in Canada, and it's held by Bryce Krawczyk's, and I think his best deadlift is 385.5. And then when I said that, I was like, best all time. Walter goes, well, best raw. And I was like, has someone even deadlifted more than that equipped? But then we looked, and Bryce has deadlifted 400 kilos, like
Yeah.
equipped.
yeah,
So that's pretty crazy. But I think he did. I think he pulls sumo like both like raw and equipped.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does. Yeah.
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 It's
Yeah.
also technique too, right? Like I think with the equipment, it's I'm okay, so I am not good at sumo raw, so I can't really speak to you on what good technique is there. I can't. But with the equipment, I'm a lot more thoughtful, I think, in setting up my cues and like getting in that right position. So I think it's just like kind of learning how to use the equipment to move the
Do you think
weight.
it's just that tightness around your hips or something like that? Like it gives you more
Probably.
stability for
I
some
have
reason? Yeah.
terrible hips. Like my hip is so bad. Like
So I guess that suit just kind of like squeezes and helps keep your leg in a stable position.
feels so good. Like
Yeah.
it feels so good.
Yeah. I've always just thought like equipped lifting like looked like kind of painful though. Like definitely benching with the shirt, right? Because you're kind of just like pulling it into yourself. And like same thing with the suit, it's just squeezing the crap out of your legs, right?
Yeah, and I going into from NAPF in August going into Worlds now, I took my equipment in because it was extremely loose at North Americans. Like I didn't struggle to get into it. And um I have a lot of chafing and scarring right now that I am trying to like ease. But it's
Yeah.
like around the elbows, it's around here for the bench shirt. It's like I have like some scarring here from the bench shirt, but I think it's just because I'm little and it kind of rides back. Around my quads, like around my shoulder, on my hips, like
Oh
around my
my God.
face. It's just like so tight, and the material is I think it's very similar to like seatbelt material, so there's very little give to it. It
Oh
might be
damn.
even more like harder. Like there is no stretch to it. So the suit, like whatever equipment you're in, like it gets molded to your body, which is kind of gross. But um yeah, it does hurt. I think it hurts, and I don't know when it's gonna stop hurting, or if it's just like I have to accept the hurt and just accept it.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like for people it's a trade-off because like you've heard of people like Tony Cliff, for example. It's like his hips get really beat up, so then he'll go and squat in a suit for a while. Or even Eric Willis like is like that too, right? Like he'll squat in a suit just to give his hips a break, but then it hurts in other ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's probably similar to like Hook, where you will always kind of feel that pain, discomfort, but it's like you're kind of numb to it, so it's like whatever.
Yeah.
Or
It's
at least hopefully.
like I've been my heavy singles in this prep, I would rack it and then I'd look at Garrett and be like, it's not the weight that is hurting me, it's my suit. Like I would what did I do? Like I think I didn't measure it and I made it maybe a little too tight, but I mean it's like kind of giving a little bit now. But yeah, it's like I definitely yeah, it's that trade-off. And sometimes you just need that. Like 170 is pretty cool. Like one spotting 175, like for me, that's pretty cool when that's nowhere near like that's what is that, like 30 kilos more
Yeah,
than a
it's
raw?
like 60 something pounds or so. And like, how
Yeah.
does that feel on your back? Like at first, when you started really hitting your stride and making PRs and going for PRs, like you're like 10, 20 kilos above your max. How did that feel like unracking and walking out?
At first, it was really intimidating. Like just when you like for me, doing that initial like when I was first getting into it, but I was actually like I was hitting 140, which at the time was still my like very close and above my top end of my raw. So feeling that weight and like walking it out, me like, can I do this? It's intimidating, but then you do it and then you keep training at that weight and I keep walking out that weight. And now it's like, oh, that's like my second, third warm up, maybe. So even like going into raw into nationals, I was ready for it. Like I mentally knew what it was going to feel like. Was I going to get the spring out of my suit, my singlet and my knee sleeves? No, but I'll just have to deal with that at the time. But yeah, like
Yeah.
feeling it, it's very heavy and it can be intimidating, but then I know that my wraps are there, my suit is there, and like that's where I'm getting that lift.
Yeah. You just gotta trust the equipment, right? Do you guys like because for bench to the point of what Kyle was saying at that Bob meet, like you're not even touching their chest in the warm up room. Do you guys do heavier warm ups in the back room, like just to make sure like that everything's going well, or do you just open, really light and then make bigger jumps? Like what's the approach?
Um, I don't do that. I'm sure some people do. Um, I just I touch. Like for me, I do usually touch in the back room. Maybe like my last warm up I touch. Um, but I'm also not benching that heavy right now in the shirt. Not yet. Fingers crossed we'll get
Soon.
there soon. But yeah, for me, I touch. Um,
I'd
yeah,
imagine it would
that's
depend on the tightness of the shirt a lot. Like, so while you're getting used to it, you probably don't want the tightest shirt. But then maybe as you get better and to get more out of it, you'll just get a super tight shirt, and then you probably won't even be able to touch with like 80 kilos. You'll need 90 to like smush you down or something.
that's the hope right now. I mean, like I took in the sleeves a little bit. Um, but my shirt, like I think is still pretty loose, but it's tighter than it was before, but it is like I think people would consider it a loose shirt. But I did get so I got a smaller size. I don't even know the sizing, but I got the smaller size and first couldn't get my arms in. So then finally get my arms in. Like Garrett like wrestling me into it. And then I like lie down on the bench and I can't even like grab the bar just because the way it was constricting me. So I was like this. And then Garrett's like trying to move my arm to the bar. I'm like, no, like I actually like I can't. And it's like he's like picking me up. So it like was really uncomfortable. So I think for me at that, like given that I only had a few weeks to get back into the shirt for this worlds, the move was to just take in the sleeves a little bit and then we'll just keep going.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so before we go and touch on, I guess, the nationals and the world's timeline, we obviously know that you've had tons of success over the past like 9 years or so of powerlifting. But at a certain point, things weren't going as well. And that was like after you had been to worlds and won international level meets and nationals, things started not going as well. I don't know the full story, but we want to hear about it. But I do remember in the gym, you came up to me and you were like, you said something that was pretty shocking. Like, do you remember what you said?
Think I probably said something like, I don't know if I'll ever PR again, or like,
Hmm.
I don't know if that was the last time I'll ever PR, something like that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. When you told me that, it's like a crazy thing because everyone is going to hit their last PR, but it's not like you're way past your prime or anything like that. And you obviously got pretty hurt. But when you said that, like, how did you continue to train knowing that, okay, maybe I'll never PR again? And what was that initial like injury that you had?
I don't remember. I wonder if it was a few years ago I messed up my neck and I couldn't even like stand and wash dishes. And I think it was just an overuse thing, but like you know how people's necks are sensitive. So I don't know if that maybe was the injury. I can't I mean I always say like I've never been injured or whatever, but I've never had like that major injury where it's like a ripped bicep or something like that. It's mostly just like the overuse or a little bit of a strain. Um, that was probably, I think for me, the coming out of that world that was in South Africa, I was feeling really defeated. And I think
Yeah.
as much as like I could tell myself, well, yeah, you had COVID and you had a lot of travel, like for your individual self, when you go into a meet thinking like I was going into that meet thinking I was gonna hit 150. That was my plan. And at that time, that was very close to the current world record at that time for the squat. And that was like the thing I wanted to come out with, like an attempt at potential world record. Um,
Wow. Yeah.
and like it's not there. So and it wasn't there. And then like being sick. So anyway, I felt disappointed with what I was doing or what I had done at that meet. And then coming out of it, I think I like my weight. I decided I was going to move up a weight class and just like take some time to figure out where I was like what type of competing I wanted to do. And so I was just kind of like I was training, but then I was like, I don't know what I'm training for. Like, sure, like provincials is coming up, and like I think that's kind of when equipped also came in because I was like, okay, like these are PRs for me too, because now it's a new world.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one thing that keeps me excited is equipped is allowing me to keep finding new PRs and keep learning. And that's what keeps me interested in powerlifting. Um, but I think like definitely like having to talk to health specialists, like going through therapy and talking to trusted friends and even like people like you guys, like just chatting in the gym and just like random conversations you have with people here and there and talking about it a little bit. Like I at that time, like what did I think the heaviest I was 50.5. 50.5 was my heaviest that I weighed in at, but that was not like I was walking heavier at some point as well. And for someone that is a smaller size, gaining that much weight, your clothes fit different, your equipment fits different, your leverages and lifting fit different. So it was a whole lot of like how lifting felt and then how I felt and how I felt when I looked at myself in the mirror. And there was a lot of emotions going on. And um, I think just like having really great people around me, whether it's like Isaac or my family or afterburn people and you guys, like being able to talk to people and seeing your continuous training or you're like, being able to step away and come back and like be refreshed. So just trying to find that motivation and that hope. And just talking to the right people to try and reframe how I was feeling. So I don't know if that really answered much, but definitely a lot emotionally, mentally, and even physically, like just feeling things out again. Like I felt I didn't feel good training for a long time. And
Yeah.
this year I feel like the last little while and like shout out to Garrett. I really appreciate you, but he really like helped me find what worked for me as well. And like it's been really collaborative working with him. Um, to feel like excited to train and to feel healthy to train.
That's awesome. Yeah, see, like, because I didn't know the full story, so I thought it was more like an injury thing, but it really stemmed from that bad performance and then just kind of feeling like lost into like
Yeah.
maybe like why am I doing this? Like, why did it go so bad? And those excuses that you had are valid though. Like, I mean, it's not even really an excuse. You did have COVID, it was travel, but of course I can understand too, and I'm sure Kyle and Trevor also understand that like at the end of the day, you're just gonna be like, those are just excuses. It doesn't matter. Like, why are you so bad? Or like, and I'm sure I would think the same way. But it's cool that you were able to just kind of take some time off and then
Yeah.
recenter, and that's all you really needed. But yeah, it's cool too because that was one of the main things I was going to talk about when I brought up Afterburn was that having that community of people and people that have been to like that level, say like Walter, or even people that just like provincials, nationals, but everyone, to be honest, has kind of had like these really high highs and these low lows, and just speaking to people. And I've spoken to a lot of people who have had similar feelings, and
Yeah.
then you kind of feel lost, but it's cool that the community is like so there for one another.
Yeah, and I think even seeing whether, like, it doesn't matter what level of meet you're prepping for, but seeing the excitement and the passion and the commitment that anyone that goes into Afterburn or to any gym to train for these meets, doesn't matter what level, but when you see someone enjoying themselves, it almost like it's like heartwarming, and it brings you back into it. It's like it reminds you why you started and why you continue to do it. So it's like that find your why or whatever. But it, like, I have a lot of fun lifting, I have a lot of fun training, and I have a lot of fun competing, and I have a lot of fun seeing people compete and seeing people train. And I think it's like it comes back to that community. As much as people say like powerlifting community is weird, it's also really nice. Like, I
Yeah.
think, I don't know, it's just, yeah, it's just nice because there's so many different, we all come from such different worlds professionally or like your sports history, but when you find that common element where you're all kind of doing something so similar, it's really nice to be together and support each other.
Yeah, 100%. Like even at the Band of Barbells just had that local meet, and going there and just like my clients or people who Kyle is handling or friends that we know, but even just watching random people that are like it's their
Yeah.
first meet or I've never seen them, but watching how like happy people get when they do hit the lift, whether it's a PR or it's just like hitting a third that was hard and the crowd cheering, like it kind of does remind you like why you got into it. Like every
Yeah.
single time I'm at even a local meet, it's just, yeah, it's always love. So yeah, that was very cool.
Yeah.
So then from then, like is that when you started with Garrett as your coach?
Around that time, yeah.
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 And did you take time off from like a structured program just to kind of like mess around and do your thing, and then you hired him, or how did that go?
Uh, I don't really remember. Um, I don't know. What meets was I doing? Okay, so I came out of South Africa. That was in 2022. Can you hear my cat? She's screaming at the door because it's closed.
No,
No.
we can't hear.
Okay, 2022 did provincials. I kind of like barely trained to do provincials because I was just like energy. That was probably around the time where I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna even stick around. And every few years, like I have Roselle afterward, she always says that every few years I tell her I'm retiring, and then she's like, and then you go and win nationals. So like, shut up. So
Yeah.
I have done that to her multiple times. So I think it's sometimes you just need to take a step back. I don't fully recall how everything played out with Garrett, but then ultimately, I think because one of the big goals for me was World Games. He understood that, and that was my priority. That is my priority of the equipped training, and all the raw lifting in between was because like raw lifting is fun, but my prep, all my blocks were geared toward the equipped side. And so I don't know how many couple years that I've been working with Gary, like that's been the plan. That's been the conversation.
So how
And
does
then at
World Games work now that raw lifting is going to be involved? They're both
yeah,
at the
exactly.
same thing though, right? It's like raw and equipped powerlifting will be in the same World Games. But yeah.
Yeah, but it'll be two, like it'll be the raw competition and then the equip competition.
Okay.
So it's the same, I believe it's the same qualifying. So top three podium finishes at Worlds, and then there are wild cards for the regional championships. So that is why I did North Americans. However, the US and also some other countries that went to North Americans sent their big guns. And I was like, oh, so they sent like their champions. I'm like, oh, damn it. So they got I think they got their wild card spots. And then so that is what the plan is for Iceland World Games qualifying. So trying to get a podium finish there.
Okay, so this is the
Hoping.
qualifier. This national or this worlds is the qualifier for equipped.
Yeah. So everything
Okay.
this year, all the competitions this year are the qualifiers, and then World Games is next summer, next like August, I think. And then Raw Worlds is June.
Wow, you have a very busy schedule coming up. That's crazy.
Well, I gotta qualify for World Games, so that's the
If you, yeah,
that's the
if you
next step.
QT. And how are you feeling like back in the equipment? Nationals was just like a few weeks ago, like last month. How are you feeling with your training going into it?
Dead. I feel pretty beat up. I'll be honest, I feel pretty beat up. I am sitting on a heating pad. I have my warm blanket on me. Like, I am beat up. Um, but I'm hopeful that the next couple weeks I will recover and taper well. Garrett and he's really figured out my taper really nicely. Like I think most of like almost all my meets with him have been like executed perfectly how we've wanted them to. Um, so yeah, I think going into Worlds, I'm feeling beat up because I had North Americans, then 4 weeks later Nationals, and then 4 weeks later. So I did this to myself. I accept the responsibility, but I am feeling physically tired.
I bet. Okay, so let's take a step back too, because you did nationals and you won. Going into that, how are you feeling? Like, because you obviously that's like a new peak again. Like you've now reached like a new high for your training. And how was the prep for that?
Prep was short. It was like 3.5 weeks. Because I think when did I compete at North Americans? August
Oh yeah,
4th, according to Open IPF, August 4th. And then September 14th ish was national. So barely a month
that's
of
insane.
like just focusing on raw training, which also I think was good to like take a little break out of the equipment because I was in it for such a long time. And you like need a little bit of that break. So that was going into nationals. My goal always is to make it out alive and to like post a total and do the best that I could do for the day. I think that's kind of in general when my mindset going into the meet is I can't control what other people's training has been like. I don't know what other people are doing, what they're able to lift. You can maybe estimate based on what they're doing. You can and like what they're posting or what they share with you. But you can't control like on the day of you can't tell what other people are going to do and you can't control it. That's them. So I go into meets as I have become more experienced going into meets. I focus on myself, focus on bringing my best self, the best that I can do for that day. My goals were to PR everything, and I think I did. I think I did. So I'll take it. So I PR, and like that is the win was the cherry on top. But after, as you guys have been saying, I've been competing for so long. Like after competing for so long, like being able to be away from the weight class, not really be focused on raw lifting and come back and be healthy and PR everything and come away with the title was it was some it felt different. It felt different. And like even talking to Walter about this too, like he's similar situation where like we had to take a step back and coming back to it hits different.
Mhm. Yeah, imagine Simone from 2022 Worlds got to see.
I
You'd be
know. Like
thrilled.
sad girl, like to being like, wow, look at you now. That therapy worked. Like got
Yeah.
your feelings out.
Literally almost walked away and now you're
I
back at the
know. Like
top.
I was like, oh, like whatever. Like I'll just like have fun. Like I'll just live, whatever. But like it's kind of fun again, like competing. And as I also said earlier, like there's so many strong lifters in Canada, and you just like I won't take it for granted. I try not to. I try to really appreciate every time I win or every time I PR, like I really like to take that time to reflect and like be proud of that. Because there are so many strong lifters, which is so great. Like there's more people now actually competing, and like
Mhm.
even like all our local meets, they're like wait lists and fill up in a couple days. So yeah,
Yeah.
very, very exciting.
Yeah, Canada's on the come up. Now there's waiting list. Like, yeah, if you're not
Yeah.
online when the meet is open, like for registration, you're not getting in. Like you have to be like within the first 10 minutes. So,
Yeah.
and then obviously that pushes everything up. Like the provincial level, everyone's better. Central's getting more
Yeah.
competitive and it'll have higher prestige to it. And then nationals as well. And the QTs all went up because just so many people are able to get there now, and it needs to be, a ladder that you need to climb. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's very cool.
And internationally too, like Canada is, I think we've always been like quite competitive, but I think even more, like more and more, we're getting so much more competitive.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely stepping it up. Um, I don't know how we placed. Do you guys remember how we placed like last year's Worlds? I know we're
Wait,
I
in the
think our women's team usually does fairly well.
We
Better
usually
than
finish
the men
top
usually, I
three.
think.
Usually, I
Yeah.
think. Don't quote me, but I know the year I went, we definitely finished top three, like our team,
oh,
women's team.
Yeah, I think the women's team usually is in the top three. The men's, I'm not too sure, but
damn guys, we gotta step it up. The boys. But that is cool. I didn't know that we were placing top three on the women's side. That's amazing.
We got some strong lifters here.
yep.
Yeah. And it's only getting more competitive, like
Yeah.
to even make it. But let's go through the game day of nationals because that was a great battle. And like we had the predictions beforehand. I sadly didn't pick Simone, but I'm very happy you did win. But I'm gonna be honest, I didn't have you winning. But I also didn't know how your training was going because like you said, you had like the little break from equipment and then you just popped off. You did a really good job. How was the Nats game day for you? How was like the experience being back on that national platform and fighting for the Raw title?
Um, that was fun. I like as I said, I wanted to PR everything. So that was what I went in there like trying to really focus on like being very just focused on what I was doing, my warm ups, like mobility, whatever it is, like leading into it, cutting weight, like making sure I made weight, like all of that, like every, like it just felt, I think it felt almost like natural, like to compete. Which sometimes, like other times, I'm like, I get really nervous, but I was like, I am so like, I'm just like so happy to be here. Like I'm in one piece, and I wasn't injured. Like I was feeling very, just excited to see what my raw total would be after cutting and after like moving up and then coming back down, because I hadn't competed at 47 in a really long time. So it is a different, the weight is different. It does feel different when you're lighter. And so I just yeah, I think I just kind of whatever the game plan was, like talk to Garrett. I was like, yep, this is, my goal is to PR. And if I can win, then that's great. But I want a PR. Like I'm doing this for me. Like I want to walk away with my PRs. Um, yeah. That was my mindset. I don't like, it's kind of boring, but yeah, I just wanted to PR.
No, it's valid because like you said to me that time in the gym, you were like, I didn't know if I would ever PR. So that's like if you can do that, like you won
Yeah.
regardless for real. And then after you did secure the win in the Raw, I believe it was it the day after that you did equipped? Insane.
And I did bench only the day before raw.
Oh my
But
God.
those were so everyone in the equip world is probably gonna hate me because I did bench, equipped bench, I did it raw because I had not been in my bench shirt. So I was like really out of that training and like using the shirt. And I didn't want to like overexert my energy going into raw because that was where there was actually like multiple people in the weight class, whereas the equipped this year, it was only me.
Mhm.
And then the equipped 3 lift, which was the day after raw 3 lift, I only squatted in wraps. I did not go into my full equipment, and I didn't use my full equipment. I only used wraps. Everything else was raw. And I do feel bad that I did that, but I was feeling it by the next day. I was like, okay, I'm a little tired. Like 3 weigh-ins in 3 days was a little tiring. And I
Yeah, I
did it the
bet.
year before, but I wasn't like, I don't know. I just had a different, I think I was kind of checked out, not checked out, but I wasn't
We weren't as in it.
as in it when we were in Richmond, in BC. But this year I was like so much more like, I was like wired. I didn't even sleep the night before going into the 3 lift equipped, so I was really tired.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And how sore were you? Like, had you gotten sore by that point, or just because you stayed up just tired? But I can't imagine squatting, benching, and deadlifting 9 attempts the day after again.
I I was I wasn't like super sore. I think it was the tiredness that was catching up with me, and then just feeling really drained by that point. Um I also missed my squat opener because I hadn't been in, as I said, I hadn't been in equipment in a long time. And I think Garrett, when he wrapped my knees, it was tighter than what I had been used to for so long that I was like, I didn't know. So we had to ease off and like I think had to make it a little heavier so I could get that. But I did make it out alive.
There you go. And then now it's time to go do Iceland, which is gonna be very fun. So I'm very excited for that. Is your competition really like steep at this Worlds?
Yeah, it is. I think a ton of the world record holders are, I believe, are there. Like a lot of the maybe former world champions. I don't I'm very new to Equip, so I don't know the names. I know some of them just because like I've seen them from the raw side coming over, like going to the equipped side. Um yeah, so it is really hard to tell what numbers people will put up on the day. Um like there was I just saw the other day, I think her name is Wailing, I want to say Chan, but she holds the world record for 47 equipped. And she just did like this meet casually and she, I think like PR'd everything and she's like a veteran. Like I know people keep saying like I'm a veteran, like she is a veteran. Like she's been it way longer than I have and she's like super light and then I think she was just like, yeah, I just was doing it for fun. Meanwhile, like I am fighting for my life to PR right now. But yeah, so I don't know how it's gonna go. I'll have to make weight. I will have to make sure all my equipment gets there. I will have to make sure that the coaches who I believe it's I don't believe it is Shane and Graham from out west. They are the team coaches this year. So they're not like I haven't trained with them before, so I'll have to, learn how to work with them like in the moment. That's kind of an interesting like aspect of like the world teams. You don't always have your personal coach as the head coach. And everyone wraps differently, everyone gets in their suit differently, everyone like wears their shirt a little bit differently because it's all like to how you need to lift it. On top of they're bigger humans than I am, so the way equipment fits and works for me might be different than how they use it. I don't know, but there's that possibility. So that will be a lot of the challenges that I have to deal with in 2 weeks. And we got to
It's
get
gonna
there.
be
So hopefully no
exciting.
volcanoes erupt.
Oh yeah. Yeah, hopefully not. That wasn't an issue when I went, so I hope you don't have to deal with that either.
Oops, I hope not. I'm really
I'm
excited
just
for after as well. It's in the hot spring.
I'm just
It's
looking
gonna
at
be
the
nice.
nominations. Did you guys put in like a sneaky nomination or something? Because you put
No,
in 20, like
we
what
were
meet?
we were told, okay, so I have never done equipped as a 47, so I do not have
Oh,
an official total. That
okay,
is what Team Canada's secretary was told.
okay.
because at North Americans, my plan was to be at North Americans in August at 47. We missed the deadline to change my weight because it is a different cutoff than other international meets, and we were not prepared for that. So that is why, like, my weight was like, what was it? 48. I was 48.3 kilos. So I was like, I'm walking at 48.
Yeah,
So
like you would have made weight if you needed to.
yeah, but I didn't get to. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna have fun because that defeated the whole purpose. So whatever. So that is why I don't have the 47, I guess an actual 47 total. And IPF told Canada we had to put 25, which is kind of, I guess, is like sneak attack, but not really, because you can just look me up and you can see the progress I've made. Like, it's not like I'm gonna add like 400.
It is
you
sort
never
of sneaky
know.
because like your best total in equipped, you were 48, but you're pretty much 47. Your best total would be nominated third, but like right now, like you don't even really have a nominated total, so you're right at the bottom. It's like a little sneak attack.
I just want to get. I'm like,
Hopefully, no one internationally listens to this podcast. So
I'm not gonna post it until after. I'm just kidding. Whatever you guys post it, I'll post it. I mean, we'll see.
So Heather Connor is doing it, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I
pretty
haven't
cool.
seen much of her training though, so I'm really curious how that's going. I mean, I assume that she's just gonna deadlift raw because she has that ridiculous deadlift.
Yeah.
Yeah, her deadlift is insane.
Like 200. I think she's pulling over 200 now. Like what?
I think she
Yeah, I
just
think-
pulled like 210 or something.
That's not
Yeah.
human. Like
Yeah, I
that
seen
is
the
not
210.
human.
Okay, Simone, so we'll go through some of the questions that people sent in, and then we'll go from there. So someone asked, and maybe you'll actually be able to guess who. So someone asked, why does her equipment smell so bad?
Thank you, Ferris.
Close. It was Coachman.
Oh.
Okay, true. You know what? If Garrett says it stinks, which one time he was like, and I was like, oh my god. Yeah. No comment.
No comment. No, I mean I guess it makes sense. Okay, we'll get one from Ferris. He said, "Is it convenient being able to squat on your bench rack height?" Oh gosh. Ferris is the worst.
I'm not gonna say I don't know. Do you guys have profanities? Do you bleep them out? I guess you have to if you post
I swear
this.
all the time. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were good.
Okay.
Okay, this one me and you spoke about. Someone asked how to deal with stomach issues.
So I think I have a sensitive tummy. I usually always have like Tums and and also during that time when I was like really injured and just kind of not fully checked into training, I had like really bad stomach stuff. Like I had to get an endoscopy done. Like it was not, I don't know. I think in conclusion, I believe my doctors were like, can you stop eating like an a-hole? Like, can you just be a little more mindful about what you're eating? Like stop eating so much greasy food at the end of the day, and like maybe don't eat like right before you lie down. And like I drink a lot of coffee and they're like, maybe you want to chill at that. I still drink a lot of coffee. That is like the one thing I was like, I will reduce my greasy foods, but like I'm not
the
cutting my
coffee.
caffeine. No.
How much
But
coffee do
yeah,
you drink?
several gallons.
Several pots.
Whatever
Several
you say, Kyle would just say rookie numbers.
Yeah, you and Kyle should go cup for cup one day.
Oh,
Kyle's
I'm down.
I do. I drink a lot of coffee too.
It's just so hard
good.
to like live life without it.
I know. We're
Yeah.
addicts.
I know. A few years ago, I also tried to do like a cleanse or whatever, like a 2-week thing, and I was I had like really bad headache. Like obviously I'm addicted. I had severe headaches and I was not nice to people, so I went back to coffee.
Do you drink it black?
Uh yeah, usually yes. Give
Yeah.
myself a little treat once in a while.
Do you take pre-workout as well? Because that's the one thing I found is like, yeah, I won't do like if I'm drinking my regular coffee and then I have pre-workout, it's too much.
Too mu-
So I'll just
I
like,
I can't drink like energy drinks and pre-workout. It's like too much for my little tiny heart. And so I'm like a little squirrel and my heart's like racing. And then I usually train at the end of the day. So especially if I have pre-workout after like 5 p.m., like I'm not sleeping. And then I gotta go to work the next day. So I'm like really stressed out about trying to fall asleep, but it's too much. But I do find like if I have my coffees throughout the day, like I have energy when I start training. Like the caffeine's in your system, all those studies of how it stays in your body for like 8 hours. So
Especially if you
yeah,
have 16 coffees like Kyle.
Yeah.
it
exactly.
carries you all day long.
Exactly.
Yep.
Okay, and if you could give some advice to like say a younger power lifter listening, or even someone who's just new to the sport, what would you say? Like, what would you tell them?
Um, so many things I could tell them. Ask questions. Usually the people that seem intimidating are not as intimidating as they are. Like I mean, like you guys were intimidating to me because you're like boys that like squat a lot of weight, and then now I talk to you like we're all goofs, like you're big babies.
You was
Um,
pushing me around to the gym.
I
And
know, like I can bully you.
names.
Like I tell everyone, like Trevor's a softie. Like he just sends me pictures of his cats all the time. Like don't be afraid. Just go ask him a question. Like I think that's the biggest piece of advice is don't be afraid to ask questions and like learn. And if you can be like try to be that forever student, ride those newbie gains for as long as you can. Like stay in that mindset of always wanting to learn more and improve and adjust whatever you can, I think you can go a long way.
Yeah, very insightful stuff. I think Trevor, I don't know if you said that you had a question or something to bring up, but I guess was it the pushing thing? Like she pushed you or something? Or what was it?
Pushing.
I don't know. I thought there was something that you said that you were gonna make a question, but something about Simone being a
Oh,
bully,
damn.
maybe.
Why did you have to beat me so bad in our booty pick off thing? I got a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of
that's
flack
what it
about that.
was.
Okay, but actually
You sent it
though,
to everyone. Everyone was texting me like, man, you got killed.
I know, okay, like it's like I have a large that's my largest reach. Like that's why I get squat so much, you guys. It is a like I don't even have to say this. I have a large butt. I'm sorry, that's just
Wait, when
I
was
support
this? It was a
whatever
photo
you
shoot or something like that?
Remember at the airport?
when
Oh
Trevor
yeah,
pulled his
okay.
pants down in
Yeah,
public.
yeah.
Oh, whatever.
I remember
When
that.
you're my size, you can do shit like that. Nobody can do anything.
That's
Yeah,
true.
no one will say
Yeah,
anything.
Yeah, I
Did he
kept getting
have
texts from everybody from Afterburn like, man, you got killed. I was like, she said this to everyone.
I did because I was like, oh my god, you guys look like I'm like the size of his arm, but like
Got him on the booty gains.
I don't have biceps, like I don't have abs, I don't have biceps. That's like the only thing where I'm like, oh, she like kind of lifts. So yeah.
she like kind of lived. Okay, and last question, and then I mean if Kyle and Trevor have questions, then we can ask them as well. But how tall are you, Simone? It's
Damn.
okay. It's a powerlifting podcast. Everyone's
That
short.
is
We warmed
true.
you up the whole podcast just to ask this
I know you
question.
guys are
This
so
is what it's
nice to
really
me.
about.
Okay. I didn't we talk about this at the meet this weekend? I think Kyle, it was you and Walter when we're talking about or maybe it was I don't know who it was. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, when I am with the 47s, like it's
Oh,
weird
you're
because
kind of
we're
tall.
all eye level slash I'm kind of tall.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
It
I'm kind
was
of tall.
me in this convo. You
Yeah,
said it's so weird being there because you're looking eye to people and it just isn't real.
it's weird. Like I don't normally make eye contact like that. Like it's usually like I'm like, oh yeah. Like,
Mm.
like this is what like people's faces look like when you have a normal conversation. Yeah. So I okay. I am 4'11" and a half. I have not cracked 5 feet just yet. Still waiting for my growth spurt.
Working on it.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Does the equipment help with that? It's like stretching you out of it. That's why you actually did raw.
That's probably crushing her down the extra weight.
Yeah. Yeah, 3 reds in the collar is just like compressing you. That's all it is.
My spine is like, yeah.
It's because you've been doing it for so long. That's why.
No, I think I might be shrinking. Like in
I genuinely think I got shorter from when I started powerlifting. I think my spine got squished.
I feel like you just got way thicker, Kyle. You were like so like skinny before. Now you're so much thicker, and it just looks
I don't know.
like
I have you know how they have your height like on your driver's license in centimeters or whatever. Like I have that from I think when before I started lifting, and then I had one of those things in my old gym where you could check your height, and I swear I've lost like an inch.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe back then you're just lying. You're like, yeah, I'm 6
Or the
foot.
doctor just measured me wrong, like on my license thing.
They just like estimate. They're like, yeah, sure.
Depends what you did with your hair that day, Kyle.
Yeah, they probably
Oh
used my hair.
yeah, it was just straight up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you guys have any other questions for Simone?
I was just gonna say I do respect that you don't lie and claim 5 feet, because if that was any guy that was 5'11" and a half, he'd be 6'3".
I am for the 47 weight class, I'm tall, so it's weird. But yeah, I'm not 5 feet. I'll own it.
One day.
In my heels, in my like squatting lifting shoes, I think I'm 5 feet.
Oh, there you go.
You're powerlifting 5 feet. I remember I made a joke one time and I said like I'm powerlifting 6 feet because everyone is like 5'6", but then says they're 5'9".
But it's true. Like even Isaac, when he was lifting, he was like, everyone's so short, and he's not that tall.
Oh, that's one thing we forgot to ask. We were going to talk about Isaac, right? Because Isaac used to be really competitive as well, and like he won multiple national championships.
He won 2 national championships.
Yeah. So what was that like? Because he was very competitive for a while, and I guess was like training with you. And then when he stopped, like
we weren't training together.
No. Okay.
We were in different relationships, and he's like on the other side of the wall. He knows this though. So my first impression of him, he had come into Afterburn to train like all the, like all the guys like to train together, whatever. And he did like a really stupid heavy single before nationals. And I first was like, ew, like why are all these people, like these stinky boys here, and they're taking up all the space, and we didn't have as many plates. So I was like, they're taking up all the weights, and they're like, who are these people? And then he did this heavy squat, and it was like it should not have been like a RPE 10, but it was. And I was like, what an idiot. And then he wins, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then just I don't know, we connected over the lockdown, and I was still lifting, and he's like, oh, I didn't know that people were still lifting, or like I didn't know like people could qualify for worlds still, like I didn't know that was a thing. Because he could have at that time. But he was like, yeah, I'm getting in, like I started running and like many people, but he has continued, and he's like, he's so fast. But yeah, he was really like Isaac was he was in weightlifting before he did powerlifting. So he was, I think, quite competitive or quite successful in weightlifting. I think he did a couple nationals or maybe one weightlifting nationals. And then he like snapped his elbow or something like that. And then got into powerlifting and won a couple titles. We both did our first worlds at like the first time it was in Sweden, but we weren't friends. Like we didn't know each other. We knew of each other, but we weren't friends. Like we didn't talk. Yeah, and then he was a light when he won the 2020 nationals. He was light. He was 87.
Oh geez.
Yeah, he was a
So then, did you guys? So you guys started talking throughout lockdown, and then did he do the 2021 Worlds, or
No, he was
No.
done lifting, right? Like he
He's
was fully
done.
running. Yeah.
He's done. He's done lifting.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool though. He experienced like lifting at a high level in ollie lifting and powerlifting.
Yeah.
And then he's
And
like
he's really fast too. Like for someone who is like only a few years into it, I think he's making some really like incredible progress. And yeah, I think that's kind of been like really cool about like our relationship together, is that we both are just like trying to be as high level as possible while still being like normal non-professional athletes, like having our day jobs and got bills to pay, but still like making time to do our separate training. Because like it is nice if you have a partner that trains in the same gym as you, but when like he's out running on the streets and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to this dirty barbell, like we'll see you when I see you, maybe. Yeah, I think it's been really nice because we understand the effort and the time and what goes into planning all your training. Like we talk about like how we have to like coordinate things, and so far we've been really lucky. Like his big marathons and his other runs have been like not at the same time as I'm peaking, so we kind of can like switch the support to focus on one person or the other. But we still keep each other motivated. And I owe him now. I have to go on long runs with him, like either riding beside him or on a scooter or something. Because he comes to a lot of training sessions with me. Like he is such a big support. So
yeah, I've seen him a few times at Afterburn now, and it's because like he's going there to watch you. And I think he sometimes does a bit of stuff, but nothing like super crazy. He's just there to support.
He's there to help. Yeah, he's a trooper.
Yeah, that's sweet. I've seen you did a run with him, like I don't know, maybe like 2022, like you did a race or something.
Yeah, I did a 5K. I am not built to run. I'm like pear-shaped, so it's just too heavy like I think Isaac was really trying to help me like understand it. Like we like understand the movement, like how to like whatever the way your foot strikes the ground or whatever, and like how you move your upper body, and like really getting into that technical aspect of it. And he took some videos of me to see, and he's like, you're just not meant to run. Like it's like an elephant. Like I was on the treadmill just like this elephant, and then you look at everyone else and they're just like these gazelles like running. Like it's not for me.
To be honest, though, after 9 years of powerlifting, I think that's partly wise. You're just so like compressed. Like people make fun of me all the time. Like Christina would post videos of me running now, and like my legs are just like stuck like extra.
Yeah.
I run like a penguin.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think that's from lifting.
Probably. I also just don't like it. So I did a 5K, tried to test it out to see if I liked it. Committed to a couple, I think it was maybe 2 months of training. Not doing it. I think we've done like we try to do like a 5K every Christmas, just like for fun. And that's probably the only 5K I'll ever do. And I'm not signing up for any more races. No, thank you.
I think it's tough to combine those two things though, like running and lifting, just because like running is pretty rough, like on your joints, and like recovery from lower body training is tough.
Yeah, I was trying to do both as well, and like you can't be, you can be okay at both, but you're not going to be like excel at either. You have to pick. So like for me, I prioritized. I was like, I'm gonna lift. So yeah. I'm not complaining though.
No, you made the right choice, clearly. But yeah, like you look at like the physique of someone who runs at a high level and someone who powerlifts at a high level, and it's very opposite. So yeah, it's not gonna work out.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have any questions for us or anything that you want to speak on before we wrap up the podcast?
I don't know. How are you guys? How is everything with everyone?
Trevor, you go first.
Everything with me?
Yeah, tell us.
Oh, how are you doing? How is training?
I'm cutting, so that sucks.
Oh.
Training
is
better.
down
I
to
don't feel
66.
I don't feel quite as shitty as I was feeling, so I don't know. Still alive, you know. I don't know.
I think what you were feeling like post 2022 Worlds is like what we're all feeling right now. So we're all just going through our own
Yeah,
arc.
I know. It
Yeah.
Yeah.
sucks.
It's
And
villain
like you
on
never know,
villain.
like maybe that's just like weird. Like there was a point where I'm like, maybe this is just it, which is fine. Like,
No.
but
I
I mean,
think
like
all
in
of
terms
us
of
are just like,
competing, like maybe I'm not gonna be like fighting for a national and world title or whatever, but I can still enjoy the training and enjoy my own PRs and whatever. But
yeah. I
yeah,
think what you were
but
talking about though too is like how you mentally frame it is super important. Like
yeah,
all the expectations and stuff you put on yourself as a high lifter, like say you have these like crazy goals, even if you don't like for us it's a failure, but from someone else's from an outside perspective, it's like you still did all these like crazy things, you know?
that's
So
the thing. Like all the
yeah.
text messages I got after, like, oh my God, congrats, you did so great. I'm like, I thank you, but it's that pressure, like that internal that you have to deal with. So I
Yeah,
get
those
it.
Yeah.
those conversations are so awkward.
I
Like
Yeah.
people are
know,
congratulating you, you're like, I did terrible.
right?
You just kind of sound like a dick though too, because like from their
That
perspective, like
too.
you're at Worlds, like for example for you, you're at Worlds, you squatted 300 pounds, but in your eyes you're a big failure, and they're like,
I
congrats, and you're
know.
like,
There's like people that can't even squat the bar. Like no shade, but like the average person does not squat.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. No, I think you have a good perspective on it now, though. Like how you just appreciate every little PR and every opportunity to compete. And I think that's yeah, like to Kyle's point, it's like we're all like Kyle just squatted 700 pounds and he's like, he's not happy with what happened, but it's 700 pounds. Like not many people will ever do that. But yeah.
Exactly.
yeah. I think we're all like going into this next nationals. We're kind of same mindset as you. I just want to PR everything. Like I don't like
Yeah.
the win would be cool, but like I just want to put a total that I know I'm capable of. You know, like just have a good
Yeah.
day. Yeah, I think we're all in the same boat there.
Yeah, it'd be nice to make some damn lifts.
You
Yeah,
guys are so you guys are gonna do nationals? Like the February one?
Yeah, I
yeah.
think so.
I think the sign up actually ends and closes soon, like November or something.
What?
Yeah.
What
It hasn't even
really?
opened yet.
Yeah, it hasn't opened.
Oh, is that when it opens? Maybe that's when it opens.
I think they're
I would
still
probably.
planning like the volunteers and like stuff like that first.
Oh,
I think it's
true.
gonna be a big one
Yeah.
because there's a lot
Yeah.
Are you?
less.
I'm assuming
The
you're not doing it,
juniors.
Simone.
I probably won't compete, but I might go to like help.
Oh, you're
Okay.
gonna be one of the spotters and loaders.
Oh God,
You're gonna spot
maybe
Trevor's 850
Yeah,
squat.
sign up for
Let's
I
Trevor
will
go.
back
Exception.
squat you. I got you. That is my favorite thing to do is like I will back squat like and like when Walter's backs like squat when he's squatting, I will be like, I'll back squat you because we'll both die.
Yeah, you're just like
Yeah.
reaching up.
I think that's what Luke's actually trying sometimes when he spots me.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
there's no
he'll
side spots, and he just like slides in the back. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Like, what are you
yeah,
gonna do? Like what I feel
hug him.
like
Just hug
sometimes
him.
I feel like even when I'm like side squatting, like there's really nothing I can do at this point. Like I'm not like to I can't overhead that much.
Yeah, you have
That's
to
why I
overhead
rarely
press
like
it.
I wish I could volunteer more, but I am not gonna be a helpful spotter loader. I can load maybe, but then you like tall people, like remember I'm not 5 feet.
You've done like commentating before, right?
Yeah, so yeah.
I
I'm
feel like
probably
that's good. I
still
think that's one thing we need more for the live streams is like having someone to explain like what the heck's going on. Because like a lot
yeah.
of people that I have like watching from back home, for example, I think they all appreciate someone that's like knowledgeable and will say like when
Give
there's a
some
call or like
context.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's what I've noticed too. I think it'd be nice to have more people that like are a little bit more in it and so can give a little more of that context of like how much this is in comparison to a world record or a national record because that's something I definitely noticed at a few like our uh like the centrals easterns and stuff like not there wasn't enough of that context but there are a lot of people lifting like very close to world record weights and that's a
Mm.
big deal like that's in can like that these are our people like these could be
yeah.
our like team
I
Canada
think
like that's a big deal
Yeah, like I noticed
Yeah.
there's actually some local meets. Like I think the company is Apex like Media that's doing them, and like they have like two commentators that are doing the whole thing, and it makes it a much better like watching
Yeah.
experience for the live
Makes it
stream.
fun
So I
to
think that's
watch.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to commentate, like say if not like every meet, but imagine like at nationals if it worked out that like maybe even afterwards. But I mean sometimes I have people that I'm coaching or even like
That
these guys
too.
to watch. But yeah, it would be cool if like there's someone on the mic. Or like if we had a Gino, I know like he sometimes is just yelling and saying stuff. But if like the commentator was actually like linked to the live stream, that could be cool too.
That'd be cool too.
Like
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
better
I've
than
talked
nothing.
to the meet directors and said like if you need help with that, because
Yeah.
I do like commentating and like helping out with the live stream, but I know like other people sign up to do it, so I don't always get to do it.
Also, I mean, there's a difference between like Gino does like I guess announcing, right? Like not commentating. I feel like the
Yeah,
commentating on the live stream is more key because the people that
Yeah.
are there in person kind
they
of know
know.
what's going on. But
Yeah,
then the
that's
people that are on the
true.
live stream that are watching, like if we have a national event, there's like hundreds of people watching. Like you should tell them what's happening.
Yeah,
Mhm.
actually, that's a good point.
Yeah, like this pull is for like second, or like if he hits this, like just explaining it, or even
Yeah,
like
like the
saying,
jockeying and okay, like there's a change and this is what that means and like how that's gonna move people's placing or
yeah,
pushing people to make a different attempt. Um, yeah.
So, yeah.
maybe that's your job at the next nationals if you come. That would be cool. You know what you're talking about.
I'll talk to the meet directors. I'll see if I can get time off first, but I'll
Oh
talk to the
yeah.
meet directors.
Yeah, well, I think they're paying people. I probably just spotting and loading, but if they're paying people and like you can be like, hey, like I'm the best announcer or commentator in the world, then you get your bag. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it for the podcast. It was a pleasure having you on. Crush it in Iceland and enjoy the hot springs and stuff. That's gonna be lots of fun. Hopefully, you see the Northern Lights and all that too.
Oh my God, we're so excited. Like that's we're like if we don't, I'm gonna be so disappointed.
I'm sure you will. It was pretty good when I was there, and I think you're there for like 5 days,
Yeah,
4 days. Yeah,
yeah,
so
we'll
you
have
should be
time.
good. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you guys for having me and hearing me ramble. I'm sure you'll have lots to cut and edit, but hopefully there's some usable bits there.
No, you
Appreciate
did good,
you.
and we
You
barely
guys want to see
even
my
like
cats now? They're like
yeah.
Yeah.
very important.
All right, Lily's here. Lily's on the pod.
She's ready, eh? She was there the whole time.
Look at
Oh
her.
my
Yep.
gosh, Simone, who is that?
This
He's
is
fluffy.
Sadie.
Oh,
We
she's
have to
fluffy.
make her like put her in the podcast, okay? Because she's very. Oh my
She's
God.
getting blurred sometimes. Oh,
Oh,
here
that's
she is.
good. She looks kind of like Lucas's cat, actually, too.
Oh my God, my other one just
She's
came.
nice.
Here's my other cat.
Yep.
Oh
You
my
got both of
God,
them.
unblur it.
Hang on. Okay.
It's
Oh, yeah,
crazy.
they're both
They're
just
so mad
spoons
right
to
now.
death.
I don't care. I don't care. Stop it. Stop.
That's awesome.
That's ridiculous.
They do. They look like siblings for sure.
They do.
Like,
They're not, but I did like that they look the same.
They're
Yeah.
so
Like,
cute.
this is my terrorist one. She's very naughty. She wakes me up in the night to eat. She's so bad. This is my baby. She's like she knows she's my favorite. We have the same personality, and she is happy to be. And as you can see, that is
Oh,
Oh
the other one
wow.
is left.
that's this sign is for Isaac and I are getting married in a month, and we're gonna surprise everyone at the wedding with.
Oh shoot.
cat
So
So
sign.
do
many
we,
Cat sign.
powerlifters, my friends that are coming to the wedding, the surprise, we were gonna surprise everyone. We have two cats.
that's awesome.
That's funny.
Forgot that was right there.
Do we have to cut this part out?
No, it's fine. It's funny. You can this is who I am. I have a cat signs. There's a for my bachelorette, that's a
Oh wow, it's big. Oh
Oh my
wow.
I wonder if
God.
this will make your podcast.
We're using that as the cover photo for Instagram.
Yep.
Oh, God. But like, actually, I'm not opposed.
You're not opposed?
That'd be hilarious.
I don't know
Maybe-
that you might get banned if you.
I feel
No,
like
it's just a balloon.
I never seen the picture, but the picture of you and Trevor, the booty pose off,
God.
that
Well,
could be
would
like
good
the
too.
Yeah,
That's
well,
Instagram.
everybody at Afterburn has it. I'm sure we can find it.
I'll send it. I'll send it to
Yeah,
you.
send it to me after. Yeah. That's too good.
Little people
Okay.
love yeah. Anyway.
All right. Is there anywhere, or actually, what's their Instagram, first of all, so people can follow you?
Simone.Lai. Simone Lai.
Nice.
I think. Let me double check if that's my Insta. Yes, my Instagram is Simone.Lai. Lai.
All right, guys, you heard her. Follow her there to watch the cool training and Iceland pictures, and then Germany pictures, and then wherever the world games will be pictures. Yeah, you have a lot of traveling to do in the upcoming months.
Very exciting month. So I'll keep you guys updated.
And do you have any sponsors, or mostly just a big shout out to your cats?
Number one, shout out to my cats. Number two, shout out to Isaac, because he's in the other room and he's listening. So if I don't, he's gonna be sad. Love Isaac. And obviously friends and family, my Afterburn team. I feel like I'm like, thank you everyone. Thank you so much. And also thank you to Inner Strength and SVD. I'm sponsored by SVD, but Inner Strength has been very supportive of my training as well. So appreciate those two groups, SVD Canada.
Yep.
And I have a support link as well if you'd like to buy. You don't get a discount.
Yeah, if you guys really like the pod, if you really liked what Simone had to say, go use her support link and help her out.
Help feed those kitties.
Yeah, it's for the cats. Feed the cats.
Come on, guys, don't be insensitive.
If you don't use my support link, you hate animals.
It's pretty much animal abuse if they
It
don't use
is.
it. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up here, but thank you again for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Peace. Thank you.
Do I have to exit now?
You can
Luke will stop the recording.